Hi everyone, welcome to Moon Garden. My name is Abigail and today we are going to start a new series together, and it is exploring my very old cookbook published last in 1941, the American Woman's Cookbook. It's a World War II era cookbook and will make the scalloped potatoes. This cookbook was originally published in 1938 when the effects of the Great Depression were still very much felt. Like I said, the edition I have is from 1941, the year that the United States officially declared themselves to be a part of World War II, a war that had been raging since 1939. So as you can imagine, this recipe for scalloped potatoes is very economical. It's very homely and comforting, and it is a recipe that has stood the test of time, the most difficult times. To make this recipe, you will need 6 medium potatoes. Unfortunately, my potatoes were all more on the small side, so I had to add a few more to compensate. I have found it difficult to get organic potatoes that don't already have eyes started when they're at the grocery store, so I had to do quite a bit of prep work, digging those out, peeling the potatoes, but overall this is a pretty basic recipe. The size to slice the potatoes is just thin, that's all they said. So you can obviously use a mandolin or hand cut them. If you have 6 medium potatoes, it shouldn't take too long. Me, with these fiddly little tiny potatoes, took an extra amount of work, but not too stressful overall. In the upper right picture, I have my grandmother with me, and just having more of a connection to different generations in my life, knowing that I want to keep their spirit alive. And a way to do that is just to make these recipes. It's simple. Had I been alive in this time, I would be eating flour just like everybody else and butter or margarine just like everybody else. But as I'm in the modern day, I have access to different things. So I have adapted this recipe for a gluten-free and a plant-forward lifestyle. Vegetarianism and veganism has been around since ancient times, but the word vegan was coined actually during World War II by Donald Watson and a society that he created, the Vegan Society. And his term for vegan was the beginning and end of vegetarian. I suppose I should probably tell you how to put this together, so I'll read you the recipe. Pare raw potatoes and cut them into thin slices. Place in a baking dish a layer of the potato 1 inch deep. That equals 2.5 centimeters. Season with salt and pepper. Sprinkle a portion of the flour over each layer. Add a part of the butter in bits, and again I'm using gluten-free flour and a plant-based butter. Repeat and continue until required amount is used. It is best not to have more than 2 or 3 layers because of the difficulty in cooking. And because of this, I just did 3 layers max, and I divided all my flour and butter into 3 sections in my mind. So I kind of tried to do 1/3 of the flour and 1/3 of the butter for each layer. That is 180 degrees Celsius to 200 degrees Celsius. But before we go on, I do find that it's very important to get the ratio of milk correct. And did I say this already? I used rice milk for mine. But that's because I liked the really white color that rice milk provides. So you will pour it in, and then you're going to push the potatoes down ever so slightly When you press on the top layer of the potatoes, that milk should kind of rise up. When I first made this, I pretty much just drenched the whole pot with milk. And I would say that made a less desirable result. So if you kind of do the finger test and you start to see a little milk rise up through the surface, but not cover the potatoes by any means, you'll know that you're on the right track, because you're going to be covering this with a lid or with foil. The potatoes will cook by steaming in the milk, so it's not so much about covering the potatoes to get them cooked. It's about putting the right ratio. Another side note is the temperature, the range of heating you can use. I think a lot of these potatoes would cook alongside a roast or other vegetables, so it's very nice that it's a versatile recipe. I have made it at 400 degrees Fahrenheit or 200 degrees Celsius in this version. Okay, next is just an example of that finger test. So again, you're not drowning the potatoes, but you can see how the milk is at the right level. It says to cover and bake until potatoes are tender when pierced with a fork, 1 to 1.5 hours. Remove the cover during the last 15 minutes to brown the top, and then serve from a baking dish. I ended up baking mine for 1 hour and 15 minutes, and then I left the lid off for 30 minutes. So mine baked for 1 hour and 45 minutes in total. It probably depends on the type of butter you're using, milk, potatoes, so the recipe is very forgiving. Thank you for time traveling with me back to the 1940s. This recipe deserves 2 thumbs up. My whole family said it when they tried it. It was so versatile, so I do hope you enjoy.